In other news, Frank Pavone, a well-known pro-life activist, speaking out after the Vatican dismissed him from the priesthood. The Vatican is accusing Father Pavone of, quote, blasphemous communications on social media and persistent disobedience, though the Vatican refuses to release specifics. Father Pavone joined our show yesterday to share his side of the story. I asked him what all of this is really about.
This is about the control that the bishops want to exercise over the pro-life movement and messaging to Catholics.
All right, folks, I want to bring in the founder and president of the Lepanto Institute, Michael Hichborn, and editor of the Remnant newspaper and host of RTV's Remnant Underground, Michael Matt. Gentlemen, welcome to you both and a Merry Christmas. Mr. Hichborn, I want to begin with you. I encourage folks to head to your webpage to see the work that you have done that alleges the Catholic Church hierarchy is supporting issues that run counter to Catholic doctrine and teachings. But I wanted you to focus on Father Pavone for me. With his tireless devotion to protecting the unborn, is his defrocking the latest example of a church that is undermining the teachings of the faith?
Well, absolutely. I mean, well, let's start with what happened with the bishop down in Puerto Rico, who was summarily removed from his position simply because he didn't want to get along with the whole COVID narrative. He didn't want to force people to get vaccines, and he wasn't going to force the mask mandate there in his diocese. And the nuncio simply said, "Up, you're gone." Now we have a situation where a priest who is the head of a national pro-life organization was forced out of the priesthood and without due process. And I can't emphasize that point enough. Due process demands that he be given a chance to defend himself, but also there are proper procedures for correcting and redirecting a priest who seems to be running errant or afoul of the authorities of the church. And none of those procedures were followed. The bishop simply went straight for the throat and said, "I want you out of the priesthood, period. You're gone."
Right. And the Vatican complied. Mr. Matt, this Pope has been on a jihad, in my opinion, to eliminate the foundations of the Catholic faith, even targeting the traditional and beautiful Latin Mass. In my view, Rome is attacking the teachings of Christ in an effort to usher in a church that has a devotion to the secular world and not to God Almighty. Am I reading that wrong? Am I being too harsh?
Chris, not at all. Not at all. Thanks for having me on your show, by the way. Merry Christmas. I was struck in your opening that everything that you said about the swamp, about D.C., could pretty much at this point be said about the Vatican. I mean, it's getting pretty Byzantine, pretty Machiavellian. My concern is Father Pavone has not asked me to speak for him, and I don't necessarily want to speak for him. He can defend himself. But you talked about patterns in your opening. This is a pattern, and it's a pattern that's being repeated over and over and over again. We're heading into a position in the Catholic Church where I think we are seeing already a fairly serious schism. And when you take somebody of the stature of a Father Frank Pavone, arguably the most pro-life priestly activist in the world, and you throw him under the bus with alacrity like that, that's sending a signal to anybody else. If you stand up against the bishops when it comes to the border crisis, which they're complicit with, when it comes to outlawing the traditional Latin Mass, traditional doctrine, when it comes to gay marriage here in the future because of the synod on synodality, which is going to get into that. If you stand up to the bishops on any of these issues, you're going to get Pavoned. You're going to get the Frank Pavone treatment, just gone like that, like Michael Hichborn says, just gone, take him out. I think it's a warning, and I think they're using him as an example. Don't mess with us.
Well, Mr. Hichborn, the Vatican chose, and it didn't escape me, Christmas week, a time of reflection, celebration, and peace and goodwill on earth to launch this attack against Father Frank Pavone. Do you think that Christmas week was chosen by coincidence?
That's hard to say. I mean, to be perfectly honest, it's really hard to get into the head of this papacy and figure out why he does the things he does or what motivates him. But what I can say is that over the weekend, he specifically addressed the idea that a priest who wishes to engage in politics should withdraw from politics or withdraw from the priesthood and enter into political life as a politician, which was directly aimed at Father Pavone, which I think sends the signal that, hey, if you want to get involved in politics that are not in line with what politics we want you to be in line with, well, why don't you go ahead and leave and we'll go ahead and take care of the rest.
Which is so funny because this Pope is so involved
Extremely.
with every left-wing bit of lunacy that's out there. Pope Francis, take your own advice. If you want to go be a left-wing socialist Marxist politician, just resign from the papacy and then go be a left-wing politician. You're quite good at it, sir. Mr. Matt, last thing. As you know, I'm a devout Catholic, and in my opinion, with moves like the Pavone defrocking, with moves like ensuring that Nancy Pelosi, a known pro-abortionist, making sure she received communion in the Holy City, counter to her bishop's decree, the promotion of left-wing political bishops and cardinals, bypassing more senior traditional Catholics, and this relentless attack on the Latin Mass, this Pope and Rome is quickly, if not losing, quickly losing teaching authority, in my opinion. What say you?
Of course, and it's possible that this is a great diversion because they're right in the middle of the Vatican right now, their own massive sex scandal involving yet another cover-up. Close friend of the Pope, Father Mark Rupnick, who is now under investigation, another Jesuit. In the middle of this, he turns around and turns against Father Pavone when he's not busy trying to crush the traditional Latin Mass communities full of large families and little children. This is getting ridiculous, Chris, and I do think that the credibility of this Pope is really beginning to slip among practicing Catholics. He knows it, he's getting nervous, and he's getting more aggressive as a result. 2023 is going to be interesting. I think we're going to see some really interesting pushback against the agenda of Pope Francis in 2023, and he knows it.
And this program and this network, one of the few to actually focus on this, because I really believe that the Judeo-Christian ethic is what's under attack. And sadly, it looks like they have an ally in Pope Francis, those who are attacking the Judeo-Christian ethic. Michael, Matt, and Michael Hichborn, Merry Christmas, guys. Appreciate the discussion as always. We'll get you back soon.